In this video, I want to talk about why most men lack street smarts. All right, so let's go ahead and get right into it. So this video topic came from a couple of my subscribers. They actually asked about the same thing, or maybe they were backing off of each other's comments, but they were like, you should do a series on street smarts. All right, so I don't know about doing a whole series, but in this particular video, I do want to touch on it since they mentioned it. So what is being street smarts? What are street smarts? All right, so street smarts does not necessarily mean that you are a thug or you partake in criminal activity or anything like that. That's not what being street smart is. Okay, so I give you a little bit of backstory. Okay, back when I was like 18, 19 years old, I moved from New Jersey to California. All right, so just imagine being an East Coast boy moving to the West and how much of a culture shock that can be for somebody. So when I got out to California at 18 years old, it was a culture shock, and it also was eye-opening because it really showed me how much street smarts I lacked at that time in my life. All right, when I stepped across the coast, man, that was my first exposure to just gangs in general. Now I didn't live in LA or anything like that. I was in Palm Springs. I was in Southern California in the desert. But, California had its own different world out there. So that was my first exposure to something like that. And it was a small town, and the circles that I traveled in, I would run into people that had gang affiliations or they had family members, but I was kicking it with these people too, connecting, through, various sorts of activities and stuff like that. But I'm sharing this to say that I was like the new kid on the block. You know what I mean? People knew I had a big mouth too. I used to talk a lot of shit, and my mouth was bigger than my body, I would say. So this really brought a lot of attention onto me, a lot of unnecessary attention. And I would find myself in situations that, man, I look back on it like, I'm glad I made it out of that one. Or, damn, I could have got my ass beat in that one. Or, there has been situations where I have had, there's been physical altercations and stuff like that. And if I knew what I knew now back then, I wouldn't have been in those situations because I would have possessed a level of awareness of knowing my surroundings, okay? And knowing where to step and where not to step. And that's what street smarts is, man. Being street smart is being aware of your surroundings. My dad used to always say to me when I was a kid, he would be like, man, keep your head on the swivel. Meaning always be aware of what's going on around you. Always have that sixth sense and being mindful and being aware of your environment that you're in. Be aware of the people that you're surrounding yourself with. So I got a list here of 9 different examples of what street smarts is, and I'm gonna run through it. All right, so by the end of this video, you'll have a clear understanding of what this is, how you can improve it, and how you can just kind of use it and apply it to your life if you need to. So like I said, being street smart is having your head on a swivel. It's also not being gullible. It's not being naive. You're able to spot bullshit easier. You're a good bullshit reader. And it's because you are out in the world more. So I've lived in 5 or 6 different states, and having done this, it's really toughened up my skin in a way. It's really built character. I've been out in the world, and I'm not just sitting in the house, because you can't experience life sitting in the house. When you're out experiencing life, when you're getting kicked upside your head, not literally, but figuratively, and you're experiencing and you're getting knocked around and stuff like that, this toughens up your skin. This makes you more street smart. You're not so gullible to things. You don't take everybody, I'm not gonna say you don't take them by their word, but you also know that not everybody's word is valuable. You know what I mean? It's almost like the more people you interact with throughout your life, your radar of how to read people becomes stronger. You see what I'm saying? You start to realize not everybody has good intentions like maybe you do. People come from all different walks of life. You start to realize, hey, somebody might rob your ass depending on what neighborhood you're in, what environment you're in, and having this type of situational awareness is very key to being street smart. That's what it is too. It's having situational awareness, man. It's being aware of your environment. It's being aware of certain situations you're in and how to adapt and how to be flexible to these types of things, because you don't want to get caught slipping. Street smarts is also a form of survival tactics. All right, now how I said in the beginning of the video, it's not being a thug necessarily, although thugs are street smart. And depending on how you grew up, like me, I grew up in a small town in New Jersey, right? So I grew up kind of in the burbs, in the suburbs, but I also grew up with, it was the projects down the street. We all went to school together. We all played sports together, and you mingle with all different types of socioeconomic groups, if that makes any sense. So I'm sharing that to say I've learned even at that younger level. Well, I was exposed to it. I'm not going to say I learned it because I hadn't honed it yet, but you get exposed to different people's types of like survival tactics based off of the environments they come out of, the neighborhoods they come out of. It's like, how do you keep yourself safe when you're in different situations? You see what I'm saying? So it's being mindful of that type of stuff too. It's keeping like a watchful eye over yourself. Being street smart is also not being so sensitive. This is something that I used to struggle with too when I was a younger man, just really overly emotional, overly sensitive, didn't really know how to banter and take jokes. Like I said, when I went from Jersey to California and I was dealing with like California type of like humor and type of personalities, and the way that they might, talk shit a little bit and kind of bust your balls. It was almost like I couldn't even take it. Like it was hitting me a certain way, and being overly sensitive, it was not helpful at all. So I just share that to say, it's having tougher skin, having alligator skin to a degree, not letting everything kind of knock you around and knock you off your square. Like I like to talk about in my other videos too, emotional intelligence, etc. Make sure you check those out. But having street smarts also means being able to read a room. And I don't mean an actual physical room. By the room, I mean your environment. You can see that this is a running theme throughout this video. Being aware of your surroundings, being able to read the room. Who are you around? What different types of energies are you around? You know what I'm saying? You might not be able to act as goofy as you want to act with these certain people as you can with these other individuals. You see what I'm saying? So it's being aware of that type of stuff. I'm not saying don't be yourself. I'm not saying don't be authentic. You know what I mean? But just being mindful of these things, being mindful of the rooms that you step in out in the world. You're also able to read body language. You know what I'm saying? Like you're just more used to like social cues and how people carry themselves. You can, like I said, your radar is more sharpened. You're like, not your radar sharpened, that doesn't even make sense. But you know what I mean? Your radar, your people radar is a bit more keen, okay? And your ability to be able to just recognize those different energies is a bit sharper, all right? If that makes more sense. Being able to read that body language, being able to read when like, all right, I probably shouldn't say that, or I better not keep pressing this issue, and being able to kind of gauge how somebody may be shifting in their body language. You're able to pick up easier on these types of things when you have street smarts. Now, why is all this really important? It helps you navigate life a bit easier. Like going back to what I was saying about being gullible and being naive, like when you can kind of remove that from your life and you don't fall for everything, and it just makes life easier. And maybe this is because I've lived in a few different states. I've lived in bigger cities and smaller cities, so I understand this. But I always say, like, man, there's more to life than just the street you grew up on, okay? And what I mean by that is that small world that you might know, this is not to talk shit to anybody, but that world that you might know, that keeps you like confined to the same behaviors and the same patterns that everyone around you possess and that they show. So you're not able to really gain street smarts until you step outside of that, until you expand, until you put yourself in different environments, and that is going to ultimately make you grow as a person. That's going to build your character. Now, I'm not saying you need to go live in another state for this to happen, but I'm just creating awareness like I like to do in my videos. This is something that everybody needs to kind of, I don't know, really maybe add to their life to some degree. All right. Now, I know the word street smart, it has that weird connotation behind it. So I just wanted to kind of put some clarity behind the term. And I hope that this kind of answered the question of my subscriber, like, what is street smart? How does this affect your life? What does it look like? And I hope that these examples that I shared really shine some light on some things that, we need to work on as men. All right. So if this video provided you with any value, please hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Make sure you check out some of my other videos, and I will see you there. Peace.